Welcome back to Talk Show, everyone. The first one in the year of our Lord 2026. Wow. I'm your host, Tino, and I am just so incredibly happy and refreshed to be living in the completely safe, wonderfully peaceful new year. For those of you who have been watching the news, I'm thrilled to report that there's been absolutely nothing eventful since our last episode on Thursday. Yes, that's right. Absolutely nothing to report at all. Nope. No. No news to report. Nothing, because I said so. Oh, for goodness sake, are you kidding me here? Fuck. Well, now we've gone and done it. So, if you're keeping a tally, Trump has now bombed Iran, Nigeria, and Venezuela. Hey gang, how's that FIFA Peace Prize treating you now? And yet, you know that there are some folks out there that still just don't get it. That just don't think that this is absolutely clinically insane. And now there's this. Yeah, thanks to Nazi wife Katie Miller, we have this subtle foreshadowing to look forward to. Goodness gracious. Okay, so today in our episode, we're going to break down why the United States is suddenly involved militarily from Caracas to Sokoto and beyond, and why that matters to you, your wallet, the future of global stability. And yes, we'll talk about oil, we'll talk about China, and we'll talk about the very real risk of starting a bigger war. In our first segment, let's talk about the new U.S. military footprint. Give you a little quick map tour, right? Hit the start button, open your map. In the last year alone, the Trump administration has dramatically expanded U.S. use of force abroad. You may be aware, but in case you were not, in December 2025, the U.S. airstrikes targeted ISIS-linked militants in northwest Sokoto state in Nigeria. This was officially framed as counterterrorism, right? Protecting civilians. But it basically pulls the U.S. into these West African conflicts with no clear endgame. We're getting in deep here, and there is no clear game plan. With Iran, we've previously struck multiple nuclear strikes in Iran amid the country's conflict with Israel and much regional escalation. We talked about this in one of my previous videos. It was sort of unclear as to where the Iranian nuclear missile program was in its completion, question mark, huge question mark. But the US bombed that shit anyway. Great. Now with Venezuela, the latest escalation, folks, this is not a skirmish. We've quite literally completed a full military strike and capture of a foreign head of state, Nicolás Maduro. What happened here is completely unprecedented in modern times, especially in modern U.S.-Latin America relations. The U.S. has never just yoinked a leader. None of this is normal. Okay, none of this is okay. We should be rioting, but oh wait, we're all slaves to our paychecks, ruled over by the corporate oligarchs and rabble. In our second segment, Venezuela, Operation Capture and the U.S. control. I cannot believe this is real. So to start off the new year, January 2026, the U.S. launched a surprise military operation in Venezuela that bombed Caracas, deposed President Maduro, and had him transported to the U.S., to New York, to face charges. What? We're all going, huh? It's such a surprise military operation that the initial news being reported is that this was not cleared through appropriate channels and they just did this without telling anyone. Trump publicly announced that the U.S. will temporarily run Venezuela. What a ridiculous thing to hear and say. Until a safe and proper transition can occur, because we've never done that before. Why is this such a huge deal? The U.S. is not just removing a leader. We're quite literally assuming governance authority of another country. Trump explicitly tied this to oil infrastructure repair and U.S. energy interests. He keeps saying it's our oil, which is absolute bullshit. How can you just point at a country and go, that's mine now? It's some real, Reddit, you made this? I made this type shit. Now, Maduro was also previously targeted with a $50 million U.S. reward, the highest bounty on a foreign head of state. That doesn't make it okay. There is some monetary context here. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump rewards himself with that $50 million. Folks, this is not just war. This is political and economic leverage. This isn't wild from just the perspective of it being unwarranted and unprecedented. This straight up just makes us look insane. We've already destroyed most of our positive relationships with countries like Canada and Mexico. Remember, Canada, of all the countries to anger, we chose Canada. So anyways, since we're torching relationships, we might as well just torch them all, right? Why isn't every single person that calls themselves a red-blooded American marching on Washington right now to show the fascists what our grandparents knew and razzle-dazzle their Rice Krispies for Jesus Christ's sake. I'm not mad. In our third segment, this is an important angle to be aware of, the money angle, oil, access, and then we'll talk about global reaction here. Venezuela is not a random target. It is not. It sits on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Not like a little sprinkle. We're talking big fatty oil reserves here. Controlling it would basically mean controlling a huge percentage of global hydrocarbons. Big deal. Why does the money matter? Okay, U.S. officials have said that major American oil companies could invest and rebuild the neglected infrastructure, which really translates to billions in contracts. That's going to be corrupt as hell. Influence over global supply, which you can't trust the U.S. with right now. And leverage against rivals like Russia and China. China notably has deep economic ties to Venezuela's oil sector, including loans repaid in crude. So disrupting that upsets Beijing's energy strategy, and that matters globally. So this isn't just like invasion imagery, this is strategic energy geopolitics. Great, right? Just great. Let's make the other world's largest superpowers absolutely hate us. That way, everyone can be as miserable as we are. Perfect. In our fourth little segment here, let's talk about how the world is watching, and they're not all that happy about this. As you might suspect, the world has opinions. Latin America is split, interestingly enough. There's some diverting opinions out here. Axios talks about some leaders calling the strikes and capture completely unacceptable aggression. I agree. But there are some others that sort of quietly welcome Maduro's removal. And I guess I can sort of see that, but not enough so to make up for the whole unacceptable aggression bit. China, as one might suspect, has expressed shock and criticism. They've called the operation a blatant use of force. Yeah, because it is. France and the European Union say it violates international law. And that's because it does. None of this is applause. Nobody's happy about this. This is a diplomatic explosion. And it also puts the U.S. at odds with the UN Charter. This compounds tensions with major powers like China. It resurrects fears of imperialism, which means that countries are just going to conquer other countries. And it's global, across regions that remember past century interventions. Okay? Quick apology to the rest of the world. We're so sorry for this malarkey. Most of us, and it is most of us, let's be clear, unless you're actually in politics, most of the general populace of America hate this. We hate this so much. We're so sorry. Let's address you, the U.S. citizen, for a second. Joe and Jane America, as Led Zeppelin said, let's bring it on home. Why does this matter to you? Number one, gas and energy prices. Even the threat of disruption or political instability affects the markets. Like even a little whisper of some bad news can cause prices to go up before anything actually changes on the ground. So you can imagine how significant the changes will be when this actual hashit hits the hafan. So much for inflation control. Number two, your tax dollars, right? Wars and occupations cost way more than press releases. There's logistics, there's soldiers, there's reconstruction, there's potentially years of commitment. And that means higher taxes for everybody, the perfect side dish to an inflation casserole. The third thing that should be on everyone's wallet radar, markets and retirement accounts. Ooh, global instability spikes risk premiums. So what that means is retirement portfolios kind of don't like uncertainty. That might make sense to many of you, especially when tied to things like oil or defense or international markets. And don't even get me started on private equity buying up real estate. Imagine this world where houses go up for sale, are bought at a huge markup in cash, driving up the home value in a neighborhood. Then, the old folks that live there, who suddenly have unexpected cost rises in a non-linear fashion, they get hit with huge tax hikes. The uncertainty causes their retirement accounts to go wild. Boomers, you're about to get a real taste of your own medicine here. Numero cuatro, that's 4 in Spanish, migration pressure. Crises abroad basically always mean human displacement of some kind. Gaza has seen insane human displacement, just as a recent example. So this translates to border policy debates, local services pressure, and political flashpoints here at home. Remember all that deportation? America used to be a place where foreigners were welcomed. Foreigners in need were welcomed, offering safety and refuge to people in need. Like, that's what good Christians would do. And the fifth part about this that's important to recognize is a potential new normal in foreign policy, and not a good one. If the U.S. can just bomb, seize, and govern a nation, that might mean that others think they can do that too. That lowers the overall threshold for conflict worldwide. Do you want a world war? Because this is how you get a world war. Sometimes it feels like I'm watching a deranged episode of Archer unfold in real time, except instead of this fake organization, ISIS, the spy organization, it's the actual United States government. Ragga, fragga, ragga, fraggle, rock, and fragga. So, folks, we did not ask for a 3-alarm geopolitical fire, but now we're sitting on it. It's bigger than Venezuela. It's bigger than oil. It's bigger than some tweet storm. This is the United States reinventing its role in the world at the barrel of a gun. And just like in every drama where the cowboy thinks he can ride alone, at some point someone else shoots up the campfire. So if you can strike, if you can walk out, if you can protest, now is the time to do so and make it hurt. The media's not going to cover it, but it's happening. New York City saw a tremendous protest on Friday, people standing up against this nonsense in Venezuela. Together, we can do this. We can force the fascists out, but it will take all of us working together. Anyway, Happy New Year. Boy, oh boy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a few days.